anything about it. This is going to be harder than your plant identification. Okay, there's not a simple key for this. There's a key in that big book, The Mushrooms of the Southeast, but it's about 5 pages for each section of mushrooms. So it takes a little while to get used to. So what we want to know is we have to know the parts of a mushroom before we can identify a mushroom, because you go into that book and it'll talk about scales and cap and veils, and you're like, well, what the heck is that? You don't even know what that is, right? So we all know, I think, what the cap is. The cap of a typical mushroom is the top, the dome. We'll talk about the dome mushrooms right now. Okay, your typical mushroom. So that is your cap. So also with the cap, when we're identifying stuff, we need to know what color is the cap. What does the cap feel like? And I'll get more into those parts, but I just want to put these in your head so that when you're identifying, you're going to ask yourself these questions. So this part of the cap, the edge all the way around, is called a margin. Like the leaf, you know, the edge of the leaf is a margin. Because some mushrooms will have some kind of pattern on the margin. It may be ruffled. It may be have little like stripes coming off the edge, like striations. It could be wavy. And all of that is determined by the gills, how the gills are underneath. But you need to know those things, like what is the margin? What does it look like? Okay. The fertile surface is where your spores come out of. So with a gilled mushroom, a toothed mushroom, the bull leaves, a spongy mushroom, the pores are going to come out from underneath. If you have a morel is totally different. They're a cup fungus. So they shoot spores out of each of those cups instead of dropping. So your fertile surface is under the mushroom. We need to know what's under there. If we have gills, what do the gills look like? Are the gills like blades? Like a portobello mushroom? Ones that you can have. Has anybody stuffed a portobello mushroom? Do you ever scrape the black gills off before you stuff it?
No, because I eat it all.
I actually scrape them off. But they can be easily scraped off, blade-type gills. All right? A Chanterelle has false gills. They kind of look like they've been melted on there, like somebody took a hairdryer and melted those gills. They cannot be scraped off at all.
More like wrinkles.
Wrinkles. Branched, like a tree. Melted. Some are smooth. So if they don't have gills, and you pick up that mushroom, what's underneath it? What else could be underneath it? Anybody else? Huh?
Pores.
Yeah. You could see little teeny tiny holes. And every polypore, and again we'll get into more deep into the families, and all the polypores have little teeny tiny holes. They could be pin-sized holes. They could be round. They could be hexagon. Now we're getting real geeky now. You're not going to have to know all those. All right? But they could be every different size. You might see them, you might not see them. What does a lion's mane have instead of gills? Teeth. So they have teeth. Another mushroom that would have teeth would be a hedgehog mushroom. So that jelly fungus, on one side, it'll drop its spores. So if you ever see those on a tree, you'll see a complete white mass underneath it because it'll drop its spores right there. The jelly mushroom, the wood ear, there's a couple of jelly mushrooms you can eat, but the wood ear is what's in your hot and sour soup, chamber soup or something. If you ever had that. Shows little brown strips. So then we have what's called a partial veil. So see this little ring right here? I'm going to show you a mushroom that has it. I want you to write this ring and partial veil. What happens is, where the gills are, there's a covering under those gills. There's a covering that covers the gills completely. And then as the mushroom cap grows and expands, that partial veil breaks apart, and it either disappears or it winds up as a ring on your mushrooms. So that's an identifying feature. You need to know, does it have a ring? So not all mushrooms have that little partial veil covering up the gills. So, that's a feature, right? And if you see that and you see a little ring, you know it had a partial veil, so you'll write that down. So this, we all know what this is. What is this whole part? Stalk, stem, or stike. Oh. Another word for cap is pileus. All right. So notice on your stem, is it scruffy? Does it have scale? Does it have a ring? What color is the stem? The stem could be a totally different color from the cap. Okay. Notice anything you can about the stem. And when you're first finding mushrooms, don't just cut and pick it. If we find one, we're not doing this to all of them, but we find one, we want to dig it up. We need to see what's at the bottom. Because some of them will have a bulbous base. It'll be like a round bottom, not the sac, but a little round bottom of the stem. So it'll be round. If you cut it, you would have never known that. Some of them have a pointy stem at the bottom. It looks like a boot. Some actually have a structure that looks like an actual boot pulled over a leg. So when you first study mushrooms, it's not on a tree and it's in the ground, you do want to dig it up so you can see everything about it. Because there's some people that'll go cut some mushrooms, just cut them clear, and they could look like edible mushrooms. But if it had a bulbous base, or if it had a little sac, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute, like the universal veil, then you're going to know, oh, that's in the Amanita family. Let me stay away.
So there's a story. I think it wasn't like years and years and years ago, but some people out in California, a whole family died, right? They were from somewhere else. I can't remember where, another country. Mm-hmm. And they harvested what looked just like mushrooms that they ate there. And they were not that mushroom. So, so if they had not assumed and did all this check-in and stuff, they would have found out it wasn't that mushroom. And it's not a pleasant death.
No. So, there's a sac or a vulva. Some people call it a vulva. So if you've ever seen like what looks like an egg growing out of the ground, I don't know, has anybody ever seen that? Mm-hmm. You have, I know. I don't know if you guys have. So that sac, an amanita grows out of this thing that looks like an egg. And it's a universal veil too. It completely encases the entire fruiting body of the mushroom, right? And then the mushroom starts popping out, and it breaks free from this universal veil. It winds up leaving scales and spots on the top of the mushroom, and then it breaks free at the bottom, and it just hangs out at the bottom. All right? Pretty interesting. If you ever see one, they're very cool. So it can leave remnants up here, here, and down here. Now, even though it leaves remnants up top, and you have what's called scales, if it rains, or if you go over there and rub on it, they'll go away. So you need other identifying features to know if that's that mushroom you're looking for. So we talk about all of that at once. The universal veil would be this whole thing all enclosed, and then it breaks free. Okay. And then the mycelium are your roots, if you want to call them that, the vegetative part that is getting the nutrients from the trees and plants around it. And it's not only getting the nutrients for that mushroom, it's providing the nutrients to everything else around them. So they have like that's why they call it a symbiotic relationship.